Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com joins us now. Alec, we talked earlier, Rutgers, it's not really stunning to me. They knock off Purdue. Rutgers is the team that has been hanging around and playing well the last couple of years. They've got Ron Harper Jr., so you can't say stunned. And I don't think anyone expected Purdue to go through the season undefeated. They just probably didn't expect it to happen days after they finally get to be number one. But on kind of a last second shot like it was. What a great environment that was.
Yeah, that was really fun to watch. The last three possessions were probably the three most well-run possessions I've seen at the end of a game, at least all season so far. Obviously, there haven't been a ton of really great kind of end of game possessions that we've seen so far this season. But the first Harper shot was really well designed. Kind of cleared out the whole paint for him, let him kind of get to his spot, and then have a nice little turnaround. And then they go right back down. And I don't think anyone was surprised that Purdue went right to their bigs and right to Travion Williams. But I think the thing that's going to get lost in that is he caught the ball with about 7 seconds left, and usually anyone is going to rush with that little time. But when you think of it, 7 seconds is still a lot of time left. So he did a great job just using some patience, let the paint kind of spread out a little bit. Took his 2 dribbles, got around. I don't know who was guarding him, but obviously no Rutgers player was able to stop Zach Edey or Travion Williams all night long. He got to a spot, laid it in, and then the same thing. Just the patience that Ron Harper had coming down. He didn't try to force anything right away. He got almost to the 3-point line too after he kind of stepped through that double team, and then was able to obviously hit it down once he landed. So I mean, it was just super fun to watch. It was a lot of really good skill that was involved, and a lot of really good patience that was involved on both ends of the floor there. But yeah, just a great atmosphere in the RAC. Or now Jersey Mike's Arena that it's called, but it was good to see Rutgers get that win after after a tough start to the season. They needed that one, and did it without Geo Baker too. So I think that just shows you that Rutgers can be a lot better than what they are right now. But I think it also shows that some people who thought Purdue was untouchable, there were people kind of talking about when they would get that first loss and how late in the season that would actually come. And Purdue still has a lot of holes too. And I think you look at that guard play and really kind of shake your head at some of the decisions that they made down the stretch.
Yeah, and it just shows when crunch time comes, your veterans are the guys that you want to lean on to make the plays. And I think those plays you talk about at the end for Rutgers, that I would be showing that to my team. I would be saying, watch this. Watch how they do this. No panic, no selfishness. Watch this. This is how you come back and win games. They did it in a manner that like they had been there before. And that's hard to get from a team. But when you have veterans like Ron Harper Jr. and the crew, that's exactly what happened. And it's kind of fitting that he hit that shot from out there. I mean, he was the guy. But just like you said, a great environment, man. Just listen. You can listen to the clips and you can hear how loud it is. I was like, wow. It sounded even louder, I think, on the clips than it did on TV. But what a fun game and early on. And there's going to be a ton of games like this, not only just in Big Ten Conference, but all over. But Big Ten games alone, man, Purdue is not going to just run away and dominate the conference. Yeah, they're going to win a lot more games than they lose, but they're not, like you said, they're not untouchable. They're not unbeatable. They're not going to go undefeated because they've already lost a game. And Michigan, you think Michigan's not pissed off and wanting to get back up there because they were the man. But it's just going to be a fun battle all year long. And then you've got teams like Indiana who are struggling to get up there. And Michigan going into Nebraska and just beating the crap out of them kind of shows to me a difference where Indiana, how far they've got to come yet, man. They're still they're still a step away, it looks like.
Yeah, it's tough to look at Indiana right now and not have a lot of good positives to take away from early in the season. But at the same time, you look at their inability to close games out and their inability to play with the lead. We saw this happen multiple times throughout the last few seasons. We've seen it 3 times at least this season with Eastern Michigan, St. John's, and then obviously against Wisconsin. And they just don't know how to close games out. They don't. You want to have in college basketball and in the NBA, any type of basketball, you need to have either a point guard or a combo guard or someone who can go get their own shot, someone who can create off the dribble and make a play when it needs to happen and have confidence that they can do it. Xavier Johnson, everyone wants to pick on him, obviously, for how he played in the second half of that game. And that's all, valid in the way that he played. But if you look at Indiana, they don't have a true guy who I don't think people feel confident in is opening up the floor and letting him get his own bucket in that backcourt. Xavier Johnson obviously is not that guy who can do it consistently. You're not going to get that from Parker Stewart. Miller Kopp's not that guy yet. And, you start going down the list and you don't have that one killer in the backcourt who, like I said, you open up that lane and you let him 2-dribble pull up and you feel confident in him knocking it down. And if you're not able to get the ball to Trace Jackson Davis, which they were not late in that game, then you're going to struggle closing out games because they're not going to start leaving shooters, which Wisconsin didn't do, right? They stuck on Miller Kopp after he started hot. He didn't score after, I think it was the 11-minute mark of the first half. Parker Stewart had 9 points, all 9 in 9 minutes in the first half, barely got any open looks in the second half. And they just forced Xavier Johnson to win the game for IU. And that's not a recipe for success for Indiana. So they need to figure out who their closer is going to be, because if they're not going to be able to get the ball to Trace Jackson Davis and get him some open looks on the block, then they're really going to struggle in late game situations. And that's not only what you need to win big time games in the Big Ten, but that's what you need to win an NCAA tournament game. And, we talk all the time about having great guards, and that's what wins you college basketball games. Indiana is still very, very inconsistent in that backcourt, and they need to get a lot better in order to kind of take that next step up and break into that top 3, top 4 of the Big Ten, which I think a lot of people think they have the skill for this season.